Hello everyone, FunshineX here, back with ComputerCraft tutorials for Minecraft 1.6. Today we're going to actually write some code, and of course right on schedule the music for Minecraft starts. Anyway, let's get to it. It's going to start pretty basic. Just look at the, how to edit code, how to run programs and that kind of thing, how the ComputerCraft computer works, and then we'll gradually build up through the episodes so you can write really complex stuff. And you can be an advanced ComputerCraft person. So here we go, very basics of ComputerCraft. What we want to do first. Get a computer, doesn't matter, a basic computer or an advanced computer. Plop it down anywhere in the world. I've got a little nice desk here with my little chair, so I'm going to go ahead and sit down. And right click on it, you're going to get this interface. That's it, that's ComputerCraft. Okay, so this is like your terminal, or what you enter text into. And what things you can do here? Well, think about the ComputerCraft. It's got the screen that you can see. It's got keyboard input and mouse input if you've got the advanced computer. If it's gold, you have the advanced computer. And you've also got a built-in hard drive. The hard drive in ComputerCraft is tied to the hard drive on your Minecraft save file. So anything that you want to bring into Minecraft, any programs you write, you can do that. I'm going to show you that really quick before we get right to code. If you open up your Minecraft save, so I'm in the launcher, here's my instance and here's the save file, and we're calling it C2 Tutorials was the name of my save file. You're going to have a computer folder here, and you open that and it's going to be pretty empty to begin with. But as we add more computers into the world and we label them, which I'm going to teach you how to do next, you'll see a folder generated here, and it's going to have all the code that you write is going to be right here. What's cool about that is you can then copy it and do whatever you want with it. You can edit it in a notepad type editor, or context is what I used, and it'll save right back into Minecraft. Or you can copy it to a friend, you can upload it to the web. Conversely, if someone else has written code that you want to use, you can just copy it right into here and it'll be available. So that's what I wanted to show you first. I'm going to try and not do too much outside of the Minecraft interface, but there might be a few things that just make it easier to explain if I do. So we'll come across that when we do it. So the first thing, that's labeling a computer. Why do we want to label a computer? Well, remember, computers are blocks, and if you're in creative mode and you go and right click on this thing, or left click on this thing, punch it, it's gone. And all the code that you wrote is gone with it, unless it's labeled. If it's labeled, then everything you save is written to hard disk on your computer. It'll never be destroyed. And when you destroy a computer or break the block, it'll drop on the ground, and you can always pick it back up, put it back down, and it'll have all the code on it. So since I'm in creative and I don't want to actually punch this block and break it, let's fix this right now. So the first thing we want to do is just type label. That's all I have to do. And ComputerCraft is going to tell you, well, I've got commands named label, but there's actually 6 of them. Which one do you want? Do you want to get the text, get the actual label? Are you trying to set the label to some text? Are you trying to clear the label? And these 3 at the end are when you're labeling a floppy disk, and we'll look at those later. But so the first 3 are what we're going to look at. If we do label get, there's no computer label at all. That's by default. No computers are labeled. So let's do a label set. And let's call this just main. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it, my computer. You can call it your name. You can give it a pet name, whatever you want. I'm just going to call this main PC. Alright, so now it's going to label. Let's go back outside of Minecraft real quick and see what happened. Anything happened? Well, we've got labels here. And you can see that label 2 on this is main PC. Well, that didn't do much. Well, there's no code on here, so the computer doesn't really care. Doesn't need to save anything. So go back into Minecraft. And let's see, so we want to put a program on here. What do we do? Well, let's see what programs are already on here. To do that, let's type just list, and it's going to return ROM. What's ROM? ROM is our hard drive. It's the folder, basically. You can think of a folder on your ComputerCraft that stores everything. So if we look at this, if we want to see what's inside ROM, you type CD, and this is the exact same thing you would do in DOS or command prompt in Windows. It means change directory, and then type ROM. Now we're inside the ROM folder, so it's going to print that there, and you can type list again and see what's available here. Well, you can see that ComputerCraft, when you install it, comes with a bunch of APIs, and we're going to talk about extensively in future episodes, but those are just programs to help you program, make it easier, code that other people have written so that you don't have to write it, right? Auto run is things that run when the ComputerCraft when it starts up. I haven't done much with auto run. I've got to do more research. Help is just got a lot of programs that when you type help, that's what runs. And programs are all the programs that come on default when you install, and we're going to see that in a sec. And then you see those are all in green. Those are folders if they're in green on an advanced monitor anyway. And startup is in white. That means an actual program. So startup is the program that runs when you start a computer. Pretty easy. So we can always edit that startup program. Not a greatest idea. We can write our own, right? And so maybe we want to do things at startup. Maybe we want a turtle to go start digging for us as soon as it turns on, or we want a computer to display to a monitor as soon as it turns on. So the startup is going to be really important, and that's going to be next episode, I assume, or I'm thinking. But let's go back out here. And what if we want to create our own program? So we've got all these other folders. Do we want to put it in the ROM? Do we want to put it in programs? Or do we want to, well, let's just put it right on the main hard drive, right in ROM. And how do we do it? Well, we type edit, and that's actual program that Dan200 wrote, or one of the ComputerCraft guys wrote. And then the edit program takes a name. So let's give it the name of the file, and it's going to be called my first program. Call it whatever you want. Hit OK. And it's going to open, it's going to clear everything, but you're actually in a text editor now, believe it or not. So here's where you enter all your code. So we can type code here. And this is not here, but I'm just going to say it, you know. And then when we're done writing it, we can hit Control. See, it's got a little menu here. We've got options to save it, to exit, to print it. Print is going to look for a printer attached to the computer and print it out to a paper. It's not printing it on your PC or anything like that. Save obviously does what it says, and exit does what it says. So always want to save if you type new code, and then you can exit. Alright, so now let's type list, and look, we've got the ROM, which we looked at before. We've also got the program, my first program. And if we go back outside of Minecraft, you'll see we now have a folder called 2, which was the second, basically because it's the second computer I've put down in the world. And here's my first program. You can open that in any program you want. Pretty cool. Alright, back to Minecraft. What do we want to do next? Well, let's think about a few other things. We've got the ability to create our own programs now. We've seen what else is on the computer. Let's go look at the other programs that come default in ComputerCraft. So remember, how do we get there? Well, first we're going into ROM, and we can see that we want to go now into programs. So I'm going to change the directory to programs. Now is a good chance to talk about error handling in here. If you type something wrong, you're going to get errors, and it usually is pretty cryptic. But one thing it always does is it usually tells you a line number where the error what caused the error. So that's always helpful when you post code onto the forums and reply to me or something to say which line failed and print that actual line. I'll show you how to find that later. But also, ComputerCraft is you want to know about case. So what if we do cd programs? Does that work? It doesn't, because it's case sensitive. We used a capital P, and it says nope, that doesn't exist. But if we do lowercase p, it's going to find it. So you always want to make sure when you're typing code, you use the correct case, or it won't find things. Things will go wrong. So now in our programs, what do we do? Type list. We can see everything that comes here. Look, we've got 5 more folders of stuff: a color folder, a computer, an HTTP, a secret folder, and a turtle folder. And then we've got all these programs here. I'm not going to tell you what they all do because they're all on the wiki, but a couple that are really important. The Lua program allows you to write code that you can just execute immediately. It just runs right away. You don't have to put it inside a file and then start up the file. You can just execute Lua code, which is useful, very useful for debugging stuff, or just to write a quick program just to do something. What else is here? Label. We already saw that be used. That was what ran when we did that. And we've used change directory, we've used list, so we've already used quite a few of these. And you can see what the other ones do on your own time, but that's pretty cool. There's all the programs that come in. There's a bunch of turtle programs. The secret folder just holds a Star Wars video that you can watch if you want. HTTP is really cool. It allows you to upload your programs to Pastebin or pull them down from Pastebin. There's a bunch of code programs for that. And then there's some things with handling colors in Minecraft. ComputerCraft used to integrate really well with Red Power, because Red Power is not updated 1.6. It doesn't really have that anymore, but it does go with MFR cabling really well now, so you can use it for that. And the color programs help you with that. Okay, so let's get out of here. Let's talk about writing. Oh, what is cd dot dot? It basically says back out to cd space dot dot, back out a directory, so go up the tree. Okay, so what do we want to start out with? Well, as every good programming tutorial does, we will start out with a hello world program. So to do there, as we remember we did with the my first program, we type edit, and let's call this hello world. Go in the text editor, and we're going to do a few things that might not make a lot of sense, but the first one is just print. Pretty easy. And this is a function, so you put open parentheses and close parentheses to call a function. If you're very new to programming, this might move a little fast, and you might want to look on the web and find some good tutorials on actual programming. I'll try and explain most of it, but if you've never programmed before, some of this might go over your head. But basically we're going to say call the print function, and we need to pass something to it, and it only takes one parameter. It's a string that what you want to print. Okay, so all strings need to be in quotes, and then it's just the text we want to print. So we'll say hello world, if I could type. And you'll notice that the advanced monitor here is smart, and it knows, okay, you're writing a string, so it colors it for us to make it easier to tell. And if I forgot to write, have that close things, then it'd be really easy to see. The close quotes weren't there. Is that all I want to do? Control save, and then control exit. How do we want it? Well, we just typed the file. And there we go, it ran it. Printed out hello world. There's our first program, guys. Pretty easy. What could you do differently? Well, there's some other things we can do. Let's go back and edit. If we want to edit the same program, just say pass the same name, and it'll find it for us. And this time, let's do something else. Let's say print, and we're going to print a string again and say enter your name. Okay. No, pretty easy there. Alright, so it's going to print enter your name, and then what do we want to do? We want the user to type their name, obviously, so we need something in here that's going to read their name. And this is a good point to bring up variables. Variable is just a thing that stores some other data. So if we want to store a string of data, the person's name, we just have to create a variable. There's multiple ways to do this. You can just pretty easily just say name, and Lua, since it's a scripted language, will go, oh, there's this variable here, it hasn't been declared before, so I'll create it, and then I'll assign it with the equal sign to whatever we say it's equal to. You can also say local, and that will mean this name variable only applies to this program right here. And after this program exits, get rid of it. And normally that happens anyway inside of programs, so you really don't have to worry about this local. But it is helpful later on. We'll use local a little bit more, just to make sure we don't get confused between some other variables that are outside of a world and a variable name that we want to create. So we can say name equals, how do we get what they type in or force them to type in? And that's all you have to do is say io.read. Alright, now this might be a little bit confusing. If you've used ComputerCraft before, it's pretty easy, but IO is the input-output API. It's got a lot of functions that help you read text to the screen from the screen or write text to it. All right. So to get at the functions, we just name the API, which is IO, and put a period, and that says, okay, go to the IO library and then find this function called read. And it's a function, so we put the quotes around it, and that's going to basically just ask the user to type something in. It's going to save the variable in, or save the string, their name in name. And then instead of printing world, we can do something else. Well, how do we want to say hello in a space, and then we want to put their name in. How do we do that? Can we just type name here? No, well, we need to tell it to add together the two strings. So we want to put hello and name together. And in Lua, all you do is type two periods, and that means concatenate, or add together two strings. So we're going to say hello, name, and just to make sure we're familiar with the concatenate function, let's concatenate an exclamation mark as another string there. So it can add together any number of strings just using the ... notation. So now it's going to say hello and then whatever they typed in. So let's give that a test. Save and exit. Hello world. Is it going to work if I don't use caps? It does. The name of the function when you're calling it is not case sensitive, so you don't have to worry about it. And you can see it says enter your name. Okay. Hello, Funshine. Or no, our computer's become sentient. No, just kidding. So we programmed it to print out some text and then read in some new text and then print it out. It's pretty cool. Alright, well, what's next? Whoa, that was not right. So you can see I typed it wrong and it didn't even get the right thing. So let's talk about shortcuts. Okay, so I've got that hello world and I always want to type it and I screw up like I just did and type it wrong. If I hit my up arrow, it's going to cycle through all the last commands that I issued. So I've got the hello world when I ran it, and then here's the edit, and then here's my crappy typo right here. So right, much easier just hit up and then instead of trying to type it again. Okay, so let's do something else. How about a random number? This is always a common tutorial. So let's say instead of enter your name, actually let's exit out this and do a new program called edit guess that number. Alright, so what do we want to do first? Print guess the number I'm thinking of. I'm trying to type too fast. Alright, we're going to print that out, and the computer needs to generate that number, and obviously, it's not thinking of it, but it's got this number in variable. So, again, we're going to create a variable. Let's call this the number that it's thinking of. And we want to set this to a random number, so it's not just the same number every time. It would be so easy if it was 6 all the time, right? So how do we do that? Well, just like the I/O API, there's a math API, or you can think of it as a library. And the math library API has a function called random. And it takes 2 parameters, so not just a string or anything. It takes 2. The first one is the lowest value it can come up with. This is 1, or in our case, and the highest number. Okay. So we might want to tell the user that it's between 1 to 100, just to help them out a little bit. So we've got a random number between 1 and 100. And now we need to let them guess. So same thing. The guess is equal to io.read. And then now we need to say, okay, well, if what they guessed is equal to the number that they typed in, or that we're thinking of, the random number, then they win. So pretty easy. This is going to be an if statement. So we say if, and now we've got to have 2 things. The first one is the number, the random number, is equal to, and notice the double equals. If I do a single equals, that will assign guess to number. I don't want to do that. I want to see if they're both the same value. So double equals means compare. So if number and guess have the same value, then, so we have if this happens then, cause and effect, and we need to put something here, and then we need to end. This is basically saying, if this is true, if number is equal to guess, then do everything up until the end statement. If it's not true, just go to the end statement and run whatever's there. So that's how an if block works. Alright, and so if they are equal, then we'll say print, you win. And what if they're not equal? Well, we can say else. That's how you say, if it's not true. Sorry. Okay. Is this a very good program? Well, it works, so we assume. We can try it. Guess that number. Guess the number I'm thinking of, 1 to 100. Is it 12? Sorry. Well, that's a crappy program. You only got a 1% chance of getting it right. So maybe that's not the best program. So how can we fix it? Well, what do we want to do? If they win, then the program can end. That's fine. But if they don't, we want to keep asking them to keep generating numbers. So that we're going to do a loop. And a loop is basically just a section of code that keeps executing until you tell it to stop. And you can give it a condition to stop. You can say, do this 10 times. Do it until the color is blue. You can do whatever you want. One I like to use is you can think of as an infinite loop. It goes forever until I tell it to stop. And you say while true, do. That means while this statement here is true, which is always true is always true, do the following. And they're going to have a block of code here. And I like to indent just so I know what is inside different blocks. And that's common coding practice here. And we want to make sure we have an end here as well. Alright. And now we've got a loop, and it's going to execute forever. So it's going to take them, do the guess, and then it's going to compare, either tell them they win or tell them sorry. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, if they win, we want to stop the code from running. We want to get out of this loop. And the easiest way to get out of a loop is to type break. That means go out of the loop, go to the end statement and run the following code. Okay? If they don't have the number right, we might want to do something else. We can just say sorry, or we could say a second loop inside this. You can nest loops, really easy, just saying if the guess is greater than the number, the random number, then do something else, alright? So we can get rid of the sorry and just say their guess was too high, so let's say lower, or higher. Okay, so this not only is now a guess program, it's a higher-lower game. We've written a game. Can you believe it, guys? 3 episodes into ComputerCraft tutorials, and you've written your first game. Alright, so I always tend to type really fast and make errors, so just bear with me if something doesn't work. Let's give it a test. So hit up twice, we can run that in, or run it again. Guess the number I'm thinking of. Let's pick right in the middle, 50. Oh no, we got an error. I did that on purpose. It says, attempt to compare a string with a number. Expected, and it got string. Okay. Basically, on line 14, we did a comparison with a string value and a number value, and that's not allowed. It doesn't know how string, which is like a text, the text 15, the text 50, compares to the number, whatever random number. And you can see it's really easy. It told us the line that was on, and it told us the error. So that it's very helpful, usually. So let's go down to line 14. And look at this. If guess is greater than the number, then, alright, so what did we need to do? Well, we need to convert. The number is already an integer, right? A number, because it was generated by the math function, but the guess is a string. So we need to say, convert this to a number. And it's just a function. Pass the guess, and it'll return the guess as a number. Really easy. If they type Threve, if you get the inside joke, post it in the comments and I'll give you kudos, then it won't know how to convert it to a number and it's going to generate an error. So we might want to have even more error handling to say, well, you didn't pick a number, type a number, idiot. But if they enter something like 15, then it'll convert it to the number 15 and be able to compare it. Okay, so we've added our comparison here to convert our guess to an actual number, but we're also doing the same comparison up here, and the random number will never equal a string value of our guess, so we've got to convert that here as well. So we'll say toNumber in our guess. Oops. Put that in quotes. And let's save and exit and go ahead and run it, see if it works. Guess the number I'm thinking of. Well, let's start with right in the middle, 50. Whoa, I win! What are the odds of that happening? I secretly recorded this 17 times. No, just kidding. That was purely random where I wrote the code wrong, but let's try it again. All right, 50? All right, so it says we need to guess higher. How about 60? Higher. 80. Lower. 70? Lower. 65? No. 65? 63? 62? 61? You win! Hooray! And you can see when the code exited, we hit that break call, which jumped us out of the infinite loop, and it closed our program. Pretty cool. What would we do if we're here and it's running, and for some reason we wrote our code wrong and we could never get out of this loop, right? Well, we would need to either terminate or restart our computer. To do that, you hold the Control and T at the same time. That's going to terminate your call, and that's very useful, but it's also very destructive if you've got a program that you don't want users to stop, maybe a password entry or something. So there are ways to prevent the termination from running, but you've also got other keys for Control R, which reboots the computer back to the main OS here, and there's also Control S to shut it down. Alright, and to start it up again, you just right click on the block. Alright, so let's move on. And guys, this is going to do it for ComputerCraft. We got a little long there, sorry about that. Next episode, we'll talk about some actual real-world functions, not these hypothetical games, whatever. Actual how we could use ComputerCraft in the world, including my lever disappeared, and now I can't get my iron door. What do I do? Well, we're going to open it with a computer. And then I've got a light switch in there that's so far over there. I'd rather it just turn on when I go through my door, right? So we'll do both of those next time. This has been FunshineX for ComputerCraft tutorials for Minecraft 1.6. See you next time. Bye.